Hey everybody, welcome back to the Booze Briefing. This is episode 14. My name is Scott. This is where I get to answer your dumbass questions about my two books, Joe's The Cold War Diaries, Volume 1 and Volume 2 with Volume 3 on the way. Before we get started, like, share, follow. You guys know the drill. Doesn't care if it's on Facebook or YouTube. Most of the traffic and views and stuff, commenting is on Facebook, but hey, subscribe to both. It's free. Why not? What the fuck? Come on, what are you guys doing? Anyway. So remember, every book we sell helps raise money and awareness for American Gold Star mothers. And you can get them where? Amazon! That's right, Amazon. So, all right, and by the way, you can send me questions or drink recommendations. I'm open to both at the email address on your screen. Yeah, I'll put it up there. Hey, how's that? Yeah, shoot me an email. All right, and by the way, if you're a veteran, which hopefully most of you are, when you write me an email with a question or recommendation, tell me what unit or units you served in, what was your favorite. Give me a little something extra in the email. Bring the spice. All right, so let's get to the pour of the day. Now this, I'm getting out of my comfort zone a little bit, all right? So I go to my boys, Max's Bottle Shop, Ritesh and Charlie down though. Charlie was on vacation, so he was taking a day off. Making Ritesh tote the rock, as it were.
Hell yeah.
I went in there and I'm like, hey, you need to get a couple of bottles, man. Something different, something to try, something unique, So I made a couple of selections, and one of them is this guy. This is Dampfwerk, or if you speak German, Steamworks. This is Dampfwerk American Single Malt Whiskey. Now, this is batch number 4, bottle number 574. So this is pretty early. So I was intrigued by the bottle shape because it's sitting in the American whiskeys, aisle. And I'm looking at it, I'm going, that's odd. And I read the embossed glass here, German style spirits. And it's from Minnesota, from the Dampfwerk Distillery, or distilling company, I guess, in Minnesota. So I started looking at this. I'm like, Ritesh, what's going on with this? This is a single malt whiskey. I know I'm generally a bourbon guy, okay? And he's like, bro, you got to try this. This is good stuff. So he's starting to share with me a little bit of the history about the distillery. It's a family business. You got the dad, who I believe was born, if I remember, in Mühldorf, Germany. I assume he met his wife. I don't know if it was over there or over here. I think she's an American woman. At any rate, they had 2 children, a son and a daughter. They both work with the distilling company, and the son is a distiller, as is the dad. And I believe, if I'm reading this correctly, this was the son's first distilling issue, is the Dampfwerk American Single Malt Whiskey, Heritage Midwestern Grain. So check them out online. Proper spelling shown on the screen there if you don't speak German. I'm not a big, I don't know, I like some rye, not really a Scotch guy. This is an American single malt whiskey, so hey, we'll give this a go. A little bit out of my bourbon wheelhouse. So, we'll see. By the way, what's the, so 43%, so this is only 86% proof, 86 proof rather. Whoa, there we go, hey. Yeah, you can definitely smell the earthiness. That's pretty cool. Let's just pour that right on in there. I think I let my ice sit too long there. Let's let that sit for a little bit there. We'll take us a nice sip, as it were, here shortly. All right. So the challenge is still going on. The challenge is still going on. We got to get to 10,000 subscribers. And remember, 1988 potatoes au gratin. MRE still in the sleeve and in the packet. I'm going to open it up and eat it. We get to 10,000. So go to Facebook, follow us. There's a little follow button. You just click it and it goes, great, thanks. That's it. That's all I got to do. Once you see me eat the thing in a video, you can unsubscribe. Hopefully most of you won't. Go to YouTube, same thing. Just hit subscribe. It's free. Gets the boost up. Like the videos, right? Give it a thumbs up, give us a reaction, give a comment. Comments, believe it or not, drive the algorithms on these sites a lot more than you think. So give some comments, right? So let's do that. Let's get to 10,000. Remember why we're doing it. American Gold Star mothers, okay?
Hell yeah.
So we got a couple of questions. This video is not going to be as long. The last two that I've made were like 20 minutes long after averaging like, I don't know, 9 minutes or 10 minutes for most of my videos before this. So we're going to try to keep this short. So here's one from SGM McPherson, I guess Sergeant Major McPherson. He wasn't in my unit, so hopefully he doesn't know me too well. Were there any stories cut from the books because someone asked you not to publish them? Absolutely not. First off, I didn't ask anybody's permission. And because I changed the names in the books, save for Phil Benton, who didn't want his name changed, I felt no need. I felt no need to have to ask permission, or, you know, the names have been changed, as the books say, to protect the guilty in this case. So, no, there were no stories cut at all. No. I will add, though, that on certain of the stories, you know, where I may have been played a small role, or I may have suggested somebody do something and they did it. I did go out to some of my buddies and say, hey, remember that time? And they go, yeah, like, what do you remember from that? And we was trying to, you know, recreate the whole thing kind of for print telling. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, no stories were cut from the books because I didn't ask for permission. So let's take a, I think this has been sitting long enough. Let's take a quick drink of this before we get to the second one. The second one's a little bit longer of a question, I think. Man, it has a earthy smell to it. Dampfwerk. Yeah, if you're into malts, it tastes like a malt. I mean, as malts go, it's not bad. I'm just a bourbon guy through and through, but this definitely has some flavor to it. I'll give it that. Yeah, Dampfwerk. Check them out. Check them out. All right, let me take another sip of this.
Hell yeah.
Quality assurance purposes, purely. Yeah. It's flavorful. It really is. Not a ton of bite, you know, 86 proof, but yeah. I would drink. Again, I've said this before. If I go to your house and this is what you have, we're drinking it. It doesn't matter. You could have fill in the blank. All right. If that's what you have, that's what, you know, I have no problem with that. This bottle will last me a long time, though, because I got to be in the mood for a single malt, which doesn't really happen. So, yeah, I don't know. Come to my house. Come visit me. You can have a pour. At any rate, but it's pretty good as far as single malts go. Here's a question from Dimwit. When you got out, what was the hardest Army idiosyncrasy to lose? Was it walking on the grass or not walking on the grass? You know, putting your hands or not putting your hands in your pockets, or, you know, was it something else? Whew, boy, you know, that is really interesting, because I think anybody who ever served, almost irrespective of the era, you leave the military, right, with certain mannerisms, right, and traits and behaviors, and yeah, behaviors, all of it. So I definitely try to avoid walking on grass. I'm not always successful at it, because sometimes it's just, you know, I mean, if there's flowers and stuff, obviously I'm not going to go, you know, trampling on the flowers. But as far as just like grass, I mean, sometimes I will try to stay to the sidewalks, but every now and again I will. As my back hurts more and more these days, I try to shorten my walking as much as possible. So, but historically, yeah, I definitely avoided the grass. Hands in pockets. Most of the time I don't care about it, but every now and again I'll catch myself and just instinctively pull my hands out of my pockets, unless it's like freezing cold out and, you know, it's in my jacket or something. But never in my pants pockets. You know, that was a kind of a no-no. But there was a lot of other things too, like you know, the lack of sleep. I think that's something a lot of veterans struggle with. Again, I think it's irrespective of the era. A lot of veterans struggle with sleep. You know, your sleep is disrupted pretty much the entire time you're in. Certainly being in a combat arms unit, overseas, you know, in that era, we had a lot of alerts, a lot of rollouts, a lot of field time and stuff like that. So sleep was precious, man. Sleep was definitely precious. To this day, I'll just sit up sometimes in the middle of the night. no, I'm up, so that's really hard to get. I don't think I've ever met a veteran that said, man, when I got out, my sleep got, right back to normal. I don't think I've ever met anyone that said that. If you're out there and that's your case, let us know in the comments. I think it'd be interesting to hear from you. The hardest to lose, though, man, that's when I used to smoke cigarettes, I would field strip my cigarettes. I would never throw them on the pavement. I would field strip them, flick the cherry off, get the rest of the tobacco off, fold up the butt and put it in my pocket. I did that for ever after I got out and I was still smoking. I don't know, just little things. I think sayings are probably the hardest to lose, though. Something squared away, unasked my AO, good to go, whatever. There are a million phrases that we picked up in the military. I don't think those ever go away. In fact, I was in a drive-through window the other day, and it was at Chick-fil-A, real grown man restaurant, fast food, just saying. Anyway, young guy out there, he's taking my order, he's standing next to my car, he's like, what can I get for you today? And I said, no, here's my order, whatever. He said, okay, great, you're good to go. And I started to pull forward, and I stopped as he said, good to go. And I was like, wait a minute, what? And I said, are you in the were you in the reserves or something, or are you a veteran? He said, I'm in the reserves. I said, okay. Those little things you pick up. The hardest thing probably to lose for me, I suppose, is the hyper focus on situational awareness. I think about these guys that were in Iraq. I wasn't in Iraq. You were Afghanistan, Iraq during GWAT. I can't imagine the hypersensitivity and hypervigilance that you guys and gals have after those experiences. I know that in the Cold War in the 80s, obviously it wasn't an active combat zone, but we were aware keenly of, the Baader-Meinhof gang, right? The Red Army faction. We were totally grilled about Soviet spies and liaisons and all that stuff. Gaddafi blew up the disco in Berlin in the 80s, and then we bombed him. There was a lot of world events, which interesting, pales in comparison to what's going on today in terms of, geopolitical, military type, events around the world. But our head was on a swivel. We never went out alone. We always in a group and that kind of stuff. And yeah, you were just this hypervigilance about you, and it just never went away. And I don't think that'll ever go away. I'll probably be in a nursing home one day, checking the exits, doing all that. I don't know. But I'd say that's probably the hardest one for me to shake. I think that's fair enough. Let's take one more sip here. Again, quality assurance. And I should mention before we wrap this up, the last episode I debuted my patented high-tech Joe's Bourbon Scorecard. Okay? And because these are my 3 rules, right? Smell, taste, and does it work? So because this isn't a bourbon, I couldn't use that. So I have refactored the scorecard. And now it is this. That's right, the Joe's Liquor Checklist. Does it smell like liquor? Does it taste like liquor? And did the liquor work? Did it have any redeeming medicinal properties? That's it for this episode, folks. Rampage, and we pierce.
Dismissed!